Nepal Management Symposium 2014, brought to you by Jagdamba Steel, is powered by Samsung Mobiles, co-sponsored by Unilever and Jamboree, supported by Amazing and WorldLink. Our technology partner is Himalayan Techies. Knowledge partner, Think Fusion. Banking partner, Megabank. Magazine partner, Business 360. Airline partner, Thai Airways. And hospitality partner, Hotel Radisson. We eagerly await to hear from our esteemed panelists on the issues related to this session. So, I'd like to invite them on stage. Our panelists are Mr. Rajan Singh Bhandari. He is the President of Bankers Association of Nepal. He is also currently serving as the Chief Executive Officer at Citizens Bank International Limited. Next, we have Mr. Anil Keshari Shah. He is the Chief Executive Officer at Megabank Nepal Limited. Next, we have Mr. Andrew Nelson. He is the Mission Economist at USAID. Our moderator for the session is Mr. Poshraj Pandey. He is the Chief Executive Officer at South Asia Watch on Trade, Economics and Environment. Now, without further ado, I'd like to hand over the floor to our moderator to proceed on with the session.
I welcome you all in this first session, Economy and Finance of the Nepal Symposium 2014, organized jointly by Kathmandu College of Management and kcm Student Council. Well, as provided by the organizer, there are, I think, threefold objectives of this session. The first one is to discuss the state of Nepal's economy and identify major challenges and issues of Nepal's economy. And the second objective is to discuss emerging global economic challenges and how they impact Nepal's economy. And the third objective is to discuss how Nepal's financial sector is taking innovative steps to address this challenge. And I think, we will also discuss or explore the career opportunity and directions for our emerging managers. It's maybe somewhere in our session. And to discuss these issues, we have three very prominent speakers, Mr. Anil Shah, Mr. Rajan Bhandari, and Mr. Andrew Nelson. Well, Mr. Shah is a brand name in its own in Nepal's banking sector. He has very long experience of working with Nabil, and right now he is CEO of Megabank. Mr. Bhandari has very unique experience of working as a regulator in Nepal Rashtra Bank for more than 2 decades, and currently is CEO of Citizen Bank International, I guess. And Mr. Nelson is working as a mission economist at USAID, and is closely watching the development of Nepal's economy.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. I prefer to speak in Nepali. Nepalima भन्दा जुन स्वाद आउँछ त्यो I don't feel comfortable speaking in English. Then topic given to me is like innovation in Nepal's banking industry. मैले भन्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यो बैंकिङको इतिहास हैन धेरै 80s देखिको मैले भन्न सक्छु. अब बैंकिङ इन्डस्ट्री देन एन्ड नाउ हैन त्यो 80s मा एउटा नेपाल राष्ट्र बैंक अनि then 2 commercial banks, 1 agriculture development bank and 1 NIC. And now, at this point of time, we have more than 200 licensed institutions from Nepal National Bank. कस्तो भने ABCD क्लासका 36 वटा छन्। अब हाम्रो यो इन्डस्ट्री हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ कस्तो भने हजुरबाउ नातिको चाहिँ एउटा जोक याद आउँछ। जब इन्डस्ट्री भन्छु, फाइनेन्शियल सिस्टम भन्छु, राष्ट्र ब्याङ्क सुप्रिम बडी हुन्छ, अरू प्लेयर्समा चाहिँ ब्याङ्क, कमर्सियल ब्याङ्क्स, डेभलपमेन्ट ब्याङ्क्स, फाइनेन्स कम्पनीजहरू आउँछन्। अनि हजुरबाउ नातिको चाहिँ भन्न मन लाग्ने के भने हजुरबाउ र नाति सँगसँगै हिँडेर आएछन्। अनि हजुरबाउले सोधेछ, हैन यो इमेल भने क्या हो भनेर सोधेछ। नातिले पनि इमेल भने यस्तो यस्तो हो भनेर चाहिँ भन्यो। अनि नातिले पनि हजुरबाउलाई के भन्छ, ए हजुरबा यो हुलाक भने क्या हो हैन, हुलाक भनेको तपाईँले पनि नबुझ्नु होला, पोस्ट अफिस भन्छ हैन। यो जेनेरेसन ग्याप हैन, यो जेनेरेसन ग्याप कस्तो हो भने कुरा त त्यही हो, कम्युनिकेसन टु इच अदर, वेदर थ्रु ए लेटर पोस्टेड इन पोस्ट अफिस अर थ्रु इमेल, एक्सचेन्ज अफ इमेल्स हैन। तर त्यहाँ चाहिँ यो इन्डस्ट्री पनि त्यस्तै छ, हजुरबाउ नातिको रिलेसन भएको छ। यसमा कोही हजुरबाउ जस्ता छन् जसलाई इमेल थाहा छैन, अनि यस्ता जेनेरेसन पनि छन् जसलाई चाहिँ पोस्ट अफिसको हुलाक भने के हो त्यो पनि थाहा छैन। यस्तो चाहिँ एउटा यो इन्डस्ट्री हो। तर डिस्पाइट अल increase in the number of banks and financial institutions, service outreach it has not increased as per the statistics. के भन्छ भने 2/3 of the population are still deprived of the banking services. भनेपछि अब यस्तो अवस्था छ। र अब मैले यसो हेर्दाखेरि अब कन्ट्रिब्युसन अफ ब्याङ्किङ सेक्टर कस्तो छ त भन्दाखेरि, इफ यु लुक एट द नम्बर 5 years before, total lending, total deposit of the commercial banks were 555 billion, and lending was around 385 or say 400 billion. As of today, total deposit of commercial banks has almost doubled over a period of 5 years. That is around more than 1100 billion, and lending is more than 850 billion. भनेको 5 वर्षमा 850 अरब भनेको पनि कर्जा पनि डबल भयो र डिपोजिट रिसोर्सेस मोबिलाइजेसन पनि अलमोस्ट डबल भएको छ। तर चाहिँ कस्तो देखिन्छ त भन्दाखेरि इकोनोमिक ग्रोथ इज होभरिङ अराउन्ड 4% ड्युरिङ ओभर ए पिरियड अफ लास्ट 5 years, 4.2, 4.3 यस्तै 4%भन्दा बढी हुन सकेको छैन। यसमा चाहिँ कस्तो लाग्छ भने मैले यसो यो ग्रोथ, डेभलपमेन्ट र ब्याङ्किङ सेक्टरलाई हेर्दाखेरि मलाई कस्तो अनुभूति हुन्छ भने म बडा ठिक ठाउँमा काम गरेर आएको छु जस्तो लाग्ने के, यस्तो बहुत राम्रो ठाउँमा काम गरेर आएको छु, मैले सही काम गर्दो रहेछु, असल काम गर्दो रहेछु भन्ने फिल हुन्छ। किन त भन्दाखेरि आज यही बसेको होटल हेर्नुहोस्, हामी यहाँ होटलमा बसेर कार्यक्रम गरिरहेको छौँ। बाहिर सडकमा बसेर हेर्ने हो भने त्यहाँ ठुल्ठुला बिल्डिङ हेर्नुहोस्, यातायातका साधन हेर्नुहोस्, बाटोमा देख्ने केसीएम भनौँ, केसीएमका कलेजका कुरा गर्नुहोस्, अथवा कुनै हस्पिटलका कुरा गर्नुहोस्, अथवा कुनै उद्योग कल कारखानाको कुरा गर्नुहोस् हैन। यो के त्यो मालिकको पैसाले चल्या हो है? यसमा यी जति पनि उद्योग कल कारखाना, स्कुल, कलेज, होटल, यातायातका साधन हैन, जतिसुकै पनि आएका छन्, त्यो चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि फन्डेड बाइ हामीले ब्याङ्किङ सेक्टरले रिसोर्स मोबिलाइज गरेका छौँ। त्यही रिसोर्स पाएका छन् र सबै कुराहरू ग्रोथलाई हामीले चाहिँ सपोर्ट गरिरहेका छौँ। यदि हाम्रो चाहिँ ब्याङ्किङ सेक्टरको यो रिसोर्स मोबिलाइजेसन र त्यसले युटिलाइजेसनमा यदि 5 yearsको डबल गर्न सके हाम्रो ग्रोथ कहाँ जान्थ्यो होला भन्ने कुरा लाग्छ। त्यसकारण चाहिँ र यसबाट देखिने कुरा के हो भन्दाखेरि त्यो जेनेरेसन अफ इम्प्लोइमेन्ट हैन, जेनेरेसन अफ इम्प्लोइमेन्ट। अब यो मेरो 2 मिनटमा 1 मिनट टाइम आएको जस्ट आई वुड लाइक टु र्याप इट अप हैन। र्याप अप गर्दाखेरि हाम्रो क्षेत्रले हैन प्रशस्त सुधारका गुन्जाइसहरू छन्। यो कहिले पनि यसमा सन्तोष गरेर बस्नुपर्ने कुराहरू छैन। यो असल क्षेत्र हो, यसले राष्ट्रको हितको लागि काम गर्छ, उद्योग औद्योगिक विकासको लागि काम गरिरहेको छ। र अन्त्यमा यहाँहरूले मलाई यो आफ्नो मनमा लागेको कुरा भन्ने मौका दिनुभयो, त्यसको लागि धन्यवाद दिन्छु।
Thank you, Mr. Bandari. Challenge is how can we channelize remittance to productive sector? And another, third issue could be, well, if you look at our financial system, most of our capital is arranged through the banking system. But we are lacking on capital market development. Here the issue is how to reduce our dependence on banking-based financial intermediation and move toward capital market-based financial intermediation. Question is, how are we going to sustain the growth of financial sector with low economic growth? Well, with these questions, I invite Mr. Shah, and you have 15 minutes.
It's indeed a pleasure to be here. What an amazing, amazing event. I was sitting there looking at the screen and wondering, my God, where our ability to manage, to administer such sort of events has gone. I remember days when we used to have problems printing a banner. The Raju painter, the Hatley painter got a banner like for our events and our EGMs and all, and now I don't even know how this thing actually is operating. Seeing where the projectors are coming from. That's amazing. That is amazing. Just like when I got here, I pushed this little thing that everyone stands on to the side because I'm not the average. The average Nepali height and me is slightly different. I'm slightly taller, so I have to push this little thing to the side, otherwise I'll be up here bowing down throughout. Similarly, this is not the average of what a Nepali event usually looks like in your country. The normal event does not have all this high-tech, whatever is happening over here. Similarly, none of you are a representation of the actual youth of our country. Your brothers and sisters got up this morning and didn't, I love it, you're all in ties and all, and I'm wearing this. Usually, I'm in tie and suit and you're dressed so casually and I'm wondering, oh, but none of you are a representation of the actual youth of Nepal, who got up this morning and didn't decide what to wear, tie, suit and all, and go to this wonderful hotel for this wonderful function. But they got up this morning, as they do every morning, and picked up their doko and namlu and started to carry huge loads, went to a microbus as a conductor, went to the side of the road to break rocks. So many of our sisters started to sell their bodies again, as they do every day. That is the normal youth, your brothers and sisters of this country. That is what they do. Please don't ever forget that you are amongst the most privileged, the most fortunate youth of this country. You sit at the top of the pyramid. And you sit there for two reasons. The first reason, don't ever forget, is the hard work, dedication, and commitment of your parents and guardians, who did whatever they could to give you the sort of education that you got in schools, colleges, including this wonderful KCM, to be able to have the skills that you need to sit in those chairs. Don't ever forget their contribution to putting to you in the seats that you sit in and not on the side of the road. The second is yourself. Don't ever underestimate the contribution that you have made in your own lives to sit in those chairs. Nobody, no matter how much your parents wanted, if you didn't give that commitment and drive, you wouldn't be sitting in the chairs that you are today. But because of the privilege that you have of sitting in these chairs, no matter what you do, start your own business, go into politics, become a banker, whatever you do, excel, be successful, move ahead. But please don't forget those brothers and sisters who didn't have the opportunities that you had to sit in those chairs. And whatever you do, do a little bit for them as well. Having said that, we come to financial inclusion. वित्तीय क्षेत्र भनेको जिउको मुटु जस्तो हो. जसरी हाम्रो जिउको मुटुले अङ्ग अङ्गमा रगत पुर्याउँछ, वित्तीय क्षेत्रले देशको अङ्ग अङ्गमा पुँजी पुर्याएर त्यो अङ्ग अङ्गलाई विकास गर्छ या गर्दैन. जहाँ पुँजी पुगेन त्यहाँ विकास हुँदैन, जहाँ पुँजी पुग्यो त्यहाँ विकास हुन्छ. मुटु स्वस्थ छ भने जिउ पनि स्वस्थ हुन्छ मुटु स्वस्थ छैन भने जिउ पनि स्वस्थ हुँदैन like our president Mr. Rajan Singh Bhandari said, president of the Bankers Association, banks are able to do certain things and we are not able to do other things. Financial inclusion, we all believe the richer the Nepali people are, the richer the economy is, the better banks will do as well. However, only banks cannot be held responsible to enhance the whole economy. Yes, there are banks like us and others who are working more aggressively towards financial inclusion. The bank that I come from with, our motto is Holodeki Hydro Sabai Nepali Banker. We go into the micro level to the SME level. But we do it because we are new and we feel we have to do this to move forward. तर वित्तीय समावेशिता भन्ने चीज यस्तो हो, unless we have financial inclusion, it is impossible for the nation to grow, not only economically, but socially, culturally, politically. There are two paths that any nation can take towards development. We have a wonderful lady, Aung San Suu Kyi, who is here delivering an address in Hayat as we speak over here. Her country went through one way and now has U-turned and is trying to go through the other way. And I hope we don't do the same thing. One way for countries to say we want to have everyone at the same level is to say let us make the rich people poorer. If we make the rich people poorer and bring everyone to the same level, then everyone is at the same level. This is the easy way out. If you have 4 buffaloes and everyone in Nepal has 1 buffalo, the government will take 3 buffaloes away and ensure you only have 1 buffalo. If you have so much money and the average is here, the government will take it away and distribute it to everybody else. What happens in this? Suppose all of you are students, you got to a class and there was a teacher like me who was an innovative new thinker and said, great, wonderful. Well, in my class, this is what we're going to do. I really don't care how much you study or you don't study, everyone is going to get 50% marks. There'll be a group of people who will be so happy. oh, watch you, watch you. Pass the chance, there'll be another group of people who will say, sir, how do we drop out and go to the other section? Because I'm aiming for at least 90%, 89, 85% where the distinction signs are. So I go 50% later, I'm jacked. I don't want to stay in this class and get 50%. That is what this financial inclusion of making the rich people poorer is like. Who will work after that? People say that I'm one of the most well-paid Nepali people, working professionals. I say yes, and guess what? I want more. I want more, much more. And they say, "Large like that, who's gonna large like that? Just to come on large like that. What is that one large like that? I own a lot of money, a hell of a lot of money. I drive in a very, very big car. I wear very, very fancy clothes. But I work very, very hard. Every day, for 25 years, I worked very, very hard. And I started, my salary was 3,500 rupees. And guess what? They cut tax from that also. And now I earn lakhs and lakhs of rupees. And they cut tax from that also. If you ask me, where did I get this watch? Where did I buy these shoes? How did I buy this shirt? How do I go to Phuket for holiday? I can show you. Take a look. This is what I earn. And guess what? Next year I want to earn even more. That is what you've got to get into your minds. It is not bad to work very, very hard, to be very, very productive and earn lots of money. But use a little bit of that money for those brothers and sisters who don't have as much. Share your knowledge and earn more money. That is the only way Nepal is going to get rich. It is not going to get rich by experts coming here and telling us what to do and we not doing it. And expecting, the Germans to come and collect our garbage, or the Scandinavian countries to come and tell us how to milk cows. It's not going to happen that way. There is no easy way out. But financial inclusion is definitely the cornerstone of our moving forward. And remittance is, as we all say, the pillar on which our economy starts. So, we have a remittance remittance-based economy. Why has to गर्दाखेरि हामी टुरिज्म बेस्ड इकोनोमी थियो, त्यसपछि हामी कार्पेट बेस्ड इकोनोमी भयो, अनि त्यसपछि गार्मेन्ट बेस्ड इकोनोमी भयो, अब अहिले आएर रेमिटेन्स बेस्ड इकोनोमी छ. Don't be shy. That's great. We have something the world wants. We have youth. पसिना बगाउन सक्ने युवा, बुद्धि चलाउन सक्ने युवा छ हाम्रो. अस्ट्रेलिया, अमेरिका, युरोप बुद्धि चलाउने युवा जान्छ, खाडी क्षेत्र मलेसिया, फार इस्टमा पसिना बगाउने युवा जान्छ. They all go and they send money back. Amazing amounts of money back on which our economy stands. The most amazing part that we hear is banking is यस्तो राम्रो गरिरहेको छ, अरु क्षेत्रले गरेको छैन. बैंकले चाहिँ यो शोषण गरेर नै होला के गरेर त्यो मनी लेन्डर, मर्चेन्ट अफ भेनिस टाइप थिंग्स त्यस्तै गरेर होला यिनीहरूले पैसा कमाए. I want to go back to what our president said. We are not the only people who make money. The difference is there are a lot of people making money, lots of money. Lots of industries doing very well. The only difference is we are the only sector that makes money, shows the money we make, and pays taxes on that money. Most of our industrialists, as I tell my friends in the diplomatic and development sectors, our businessmen and industrialists are the most social in the world. You think CSR is a new concept for you. We have been doing it for decades. We do it as part of business. And they say, how? What sort of CSR? Look at our major industrialists. All the industries are at loss. Every year they open 2 new industries, which also go in loss. But they never get this happens because they still open more industries. Currently we are being audited by these international auditors who have looked at us and said, what are you doing? These industries are at huge loss. There's no way they can repay their loan. And we say, look back 10 years. They've been repaying for 10 years. Yeah, but how? We don't know how. But they're repaying. And said, what? We said, ask the government. Because the government is the one who approved these and that's what they're paying tax on and that's what we take. And look at how social they are. Why are they doing it? To give jobs to people like you. Otherwise, they would if they didn't open the industry. Give jobs, create employment. Because they're not making any money. If you look at their books, they're all making loss. Only banks are making money. Thank you very much, all of you.
So I am the mission economist at USAID here. I work at the U.S. Embassy. And I therefore have to mention the views expressed herein are my own. They don't necessarily reflect those of the U.S. government. You'll see why. But thank you for letting me join you, and it's a pleasure to be back in front of students. In my own background, I lectured at economics at university for about 7 years, and I frankly wish I had students as interested and attentive as all of you are. It was such a pleasure to be here. We can't escape what's going on in the U.S. Right? We have quantitative easing and slowly stepping away from that. What does that mean? It means the U.S. and many of the other countries are in a very low interest environment. They're trying to push investors out the yield curve to try and find more profitable opportunities. And indeed they are, some domestically, some internationally. And so some of the trends I see is investment is shifting away from this kind of developed countries to developed. It's shifting away from north-north to north-south. So the traditional drivers of the global economy, the US, Europe, etc., it's completely changing. And this is all for the better, in my opinion. It's more competition, it's more dynamic, and it allows more competition from other countries. For instance, you now have a viable South-South market. You viably have developing countries investing in other developing countries. Now you're finding that this tends to be a little bit different. When Western and North corporations engage in foreign direct investment, usually it isn't just large corporations, and you can kind of imagine how that goes. When other developing countries invest in other developing countries, as South-South, they tend to go more in the more dynamic sectors, the more growing sectors. And I find that very encouraging and would like to see more of that. So let me also remind you, in the U.S.'s economic history, at one point we were a developing country, and we would have not developed if it wasn't for a few things. Some political stability, right? Following the Civil War, we had quite a bit of political instability, one that will rival anybody. And following that, we had a fair amount of corruption, lack of transparency, and very unclear property rights. But slowly, we engaged in all of these reforms that you hear about now everywhere in the world. Also, critically, the U.S. got foreign investment from England and Europe. People investing in large infrastructure, railroads, dams, mostly for irrigation, but also for hydro later on. So, in some ways, the kind of economic development story is the same in many different countries at many different times. So what do we see here in Nepal? Well, Nepal, there is actually essentially zero external or outward foreign direct investment. Nepalese, at this point, aren't yet investing abroad. I would love to see it. And frankly, foreign firms are bringing just slightly more than zero foreign investment into Nepal. The recent average works out to about $3 per person of foreign investment coming in. Okay, before I sound like just a cheerleader for multinationals and foreign direct investment, let me caveat this with a couple of things. Multinationals tend to bring in higher wages, more technology, and more skills, right? Whatever the source is, these are all good things for Nepal, or any country. And then we see that it is, growth enhancing. It's also my belief you will not see foreign firms come into Nepal until Nepali entrepreneurs, Nepali businesses show the world about all the profitable opportunities here. So you are the first movers, you are the people who will get the greatest benefit the most and first, and it will signal to the rest of the world of all the investment opportunities here.
And I'd like to say two things. One is I studied in the States as well. One of the electives we had to take in our freshman or sophomore year, one of the professors, I think it's philosophy or something, said, okay, tell us why the American Empire is different from the British, Ottoman, Roman empires, and why this American Empire will continue and will not fail like the other empires. So we all wrote down whatever we did. And then we gave our presentations, and at the end he said, great, 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 but here is the reason why. And the reason why America will continue to be America is because it welcomes with open arms those from all around the world who are the best at whatever they do. Whether you're the best pianist, best physicist, best basketball player, best painter, you want to go to America. That's where your dreams will come true. And as long as the best people keep going to America, America will continue to be the best country that there is. In the British Raj, you had to be white Anglo-Saxon to be part of the thing. Romans, you had to be Roman, Ottoman, whatever it was. America is not like that. America is a melting pot of the best of the world. The best of Nepal goes to America. It doesn't stay here. Now, come to Nepal. That is why, let's look at what the American philosophy is on that. Now, what does that relate to us? Why do Nepalese youth go abroad? Let's look at that first, before trying to bring them back. Is it because if you are not a certain caste or a certain religion or a certain ethnicity, you're being prosecuted in your villages and your neighborhoods? No. Is it because if you do not have a certain political philosophy or belief or are a member of a certain political group that you are being cast aside and prosecuted and that's why you're leaving? No. Is it because you are not getting quality +2 schooling or management education or whatever you have to, because there's nothing here, it's desolate, you're going to, your brain is going to die? No. So why is it that the Nepalese youth are going all over the world, youth like yourselves? There is only one reason, and that reason is economic. That is it. There is no political, religious, caste-based, ethnic, no prosecution here, which is causing our youth to go away. You may say, what are you talking about? In Sri Lanka, people are going away in droves if you're Tamil. In certain countries like Ireland, if you're the wrong sect of Christianity, people are running away. if you're, certain different caste or creed, people are going away. That's not Nepal. Nepal is economic. The solution has to be economic. If we get a constitution in 3 months, but the economics doesn't change, will the people stop going? No. We don't get a constitution for 10 years, but we get our economic fundas correct, and we get employment over here and so on and so forth. Will people go abroad? No. Therefore, we must remove from our mind that the problem is political. It is not political. It is economic. We have to build the environment. Who is the we? People like us, people who are, say we are leaders, we have give big designations on our visiting cards. We have to work towards building an environment here where there is economic transformation. रूपान्तरण को धेरै कुरा गर्छौं, राजनीतिक रूपान्तरण भइसक्यो, धार्मिक रूपान्तरण भइसक्यो, शैक्षिक रूपान्तरण भइसक्यो, तर आर्थिक रूपान्तरण हो देशको कर्तव्य। जबसम्म आर्थिक रूपान्तरण हुँदैन त्यो बेलासम्म नेपालको युवाहरू विदेश गइराख्नुहुन्छ, पसिना बगाउनलाई पनि गइराख्नुहुन्छ, बुद्धि चलाउनलाई पनि गइराख्नुहुन्छ। In answer to your question, we have to build that environment where the youth will come back. It has happened. It's happening in India. It's happening so on and so forth. The starting point of that is politics.
My question is, as we see Nepal hasn't reached the Millennium Development Goal to cut the poverty. So what is stopping you people to gain that goal? Number one question. Number two is, what I see is, banking is growing, yes, but the poor people are becoming poorest and the richer are becoming richest. They can pay the loan taxes, but the poor, they can't. So what would you suggest to achieve that goal, number one? And number two is, how do you channelize the youth here? You see such an enthusiasm here. How do you channelize to boost our country? Thank you.
What we can say is we are trying to do whatever we can for the banking sector for financial inclusion. I do not agree with your statement that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting richer, but at a slower pace. If you look in our villages, for the first time in generations, there is disposable income. People are buying things like clothes, like TVs, like fridges, like cycles, like medicine, like alcohol, whatever it is, good, bad, they're doing it because of remittance. Yes, our economy may not internally be doing anything, but it's like saying, but we are just exporting carpet. The carpet export is the and a lot of countries just have one export. Right? So it's not that we have to have 100 exports to things. We're exporting people. They're sending in billions of rupees, and the difference between the money that comes in through aid, DFID, GTZ, JICA, is that comes in the classical model. It comes to the government, and the government does projects, and it's supposed to trickle down to the village. I don't know how much trickle down to the village or how much trickle back to Washington, New York, and Zurich. But in remittance, the difference is it goes straight to the village. It goes from Doha to Dolpa. No one in the middle touches it. There is no, money that is made by people like me or people who sit in the cities and big offices. It goes to the village. So if someone sends $200, it goes $200 to their family. It impacts them directly. I still believe today there are too many financial institutions. We don't need more. We don't need quantity. We need quality. And that will come through mergers and through acquisitions. Acquisition is very complex due to our laws and so on and so forth. So through mergers. Right now, the mergers that are happening of financial institutions that are owned by the same family. So the elder brother owns A, younger brother owns B, middle brother owns C. All of them are being merged together by moral suasion of the Rashtra Bank. Now the merger, as I tell everybody, is like a marriage. Okay? Two people get married at some point of your life, believe it or not, all of you will also get married. And when the marriage happens, what happens is, some of it, you may laugh, it will be arranged marriages, where you will not know your partner, your parents will meet the parents, and then the next thing is the China goes, your horoscope, the guru will look at the two horoscopes, and once that is said, okay, then the marriage is done. Now you will have a big marriage party, the food is good, the band is playing well, everybody shows up, has a great old time, the uncles get drunk, the aunts are dancing wildly, and everyone said, aha, kasto ramro biya. You get great gifts, a lot of envelopes with money, a lot of crystal. But does that ensure that you will have a happily married life? No. It just ensures you'll get up with a hell of a hangover the next day. Mergers are like that. Just because boards want to merge, just because documents are signed, the critical factor of the merger is the people, the culture of the two organizations. If those cultures can be married and the people can work together, then 1 + 1 will equal 11. Otherwise, 1 + 1 will equal disaster, no matter how good the chicken tandoori was at the wedding.
Now we have come to the end of this session. And I'd like to thank our panelists, Amit Shah, Dr. Bandari, and Mr. Nelson, for their thought-provoking remarks, and also would like to thank all the participants for making these sessions lively. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call Mr. Manish Keshari, Advisory Council Member and Management Representative at Kathmandu College of Management, to present the token of appreciation to our panelists and our moderator. Mr. Poshraj Pandey, Mr. Anil K. Shah, and Mr. Andy Nelson. Thank you very much to our panelists for sharing their experiences and expertise, and Mr. Manish.